morning, lovelies. So this morning I've got a whole bunch of stuff to do, but I wanted to record the opening for this project. Well, it's actually a two-part project, so this is part one. And I am using, come here little pattern, this pattern. It is Simplicity's 3673, and it is a discontinued pattern. They're no longer producing this pattern, but you can find it on sites like Amazon, Etsy, eBay. And it is a jumper style pattern. However, you can wear this as just a dress. But as they show, it is a jumper style dress with a either pencil skirt in two lengths, one just below the knee and one mid-calf, I'd say about T-length, or a fuller, I wouldn't say circle, more like A-line skirt that fits rather well. However, you will see what happened when I made mine. So this first part is me making a pencil style version. I did this in a lovely green rayon linen-like fabric that I got at Joann's. It is a beautiful fabric. I will just say that. This pattern does call for lining the top. I did not line the skirt, and it seems to have worked out really well with the finishing technique I used. So I hope you enjoy this. I will try to add some more dialogue during the video instead of just music. I want to try to see if this engages more people, or if it's just something that I should forget about. So I hope you enjoy. I will see you at the end of the video.
Okay. So here I am using a pin method that I discovered recently to mark out the gathers for the underbust. How you do this is you take a pin, and instead of using a pencil or a pen or any other marking utensil or chalk or whatever your preference is, I use a pin. This allows me to not have to worry so much about ripping the pattern, especially since I want to keep these patterns and I want to use them regularly, because I rather like this pattern. It makes a cute little dress or jumper or whatever you want it to be. But yes, so this method allows me to have to worry less about puncturing the pattern and ripping it. So I just mark the pins with the pins, and then I sew between the pins, 1/4 inch away from the edge of the fabric, and then a 1/2 inch away from that. This allows me to have the gathers placed in such a way that they will be less likely to wrinkle and create puckering. Once I've got those gathering stitches in, I'm going through and pinning at the shoulder seams. However, I messed up when I did this, and I sewed the side seam as well as the shoulder seam. That's a lot of S's. But I then had to rip out the side seam with a seam ripper. And then here I am sewing in the seams. So my advice is to read the pattern. I already knew what I was supposed to be doing, and I forgot. So that when I sewed up the shoulder seam, I was just like, oh, I can sew up the side seam when I do this. And then I realized, no, I can't. I have to rip this out. So yes, here I am making a mistake. And then I will be fixing it in about 5 seconds after I realize, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But here I am laying the bodice face up so that I can line it. How I'm doing this is I am laying the lining on top of the bodice and matching seams, notches, nooks, and I'm sewing around the neckline and around the arm side. This allows me to have a fully lined bodice as well as making it easier to turn so that all the sides are facing the correct way. I am doing this with the same fabric that I'm using to create this bodice, and it is a lovely fabric to work with. I have to say that I prefer rayon to polyester. I will say that now because I have worked with it quite a few times, and it is lovely. It drapes well, it looks nice. But here I am off from the tangent, back onto the video. This is me sewing up the arm side and the neck at the same time. I will then reverse the piece by pulling the back through the top of the arm, top of the shoulder seam, around to the front, and then I will, once I've done that, I will flip the piece so that I can sew up the side seam matching the seams from lining to bodice. And here I am sewing up that seam. You do have to be careful to make sure that the seam allowance faces the same way when you do it. For instance, if you're pushing your seam allowance towards the lining, you want to make sure that both pieces are pushing that seam allowance the same way. Otherwise, you can end up with a piece that does not look right. Here I am again using the pin method to get the darts for the skirt set, and as you can see, I'm marking with the pencil where those darts will be once I've got the pins in. I will then remove the pins, and as you can see, I'm removing the pins, and then I will draw straight lines connecting each piece with, as you can see, a quilting ruler, but you can use just about any straight edge, even like as long as a book is straight, you can use that. But this method is making it easier for me because it allows me to be less scared about ripping the pattern. As you can see, I'm just basically playing connect the dots. And then I will fold along I will use a pin to connect the two lines on either side of where the dart will be. And then I just sew along that line I drew. And this allows me to have a well-placed and marked dart that is easier for me. Anyway, this is an easier method for me. However, you may do something else because we are all unique and individual creatures. But yes, I do recommend you try using rayon. It is similar to working with cotton. However, it does not have the same crispness. It drapes like polyester. However, I found it isn't as slippery. It kind of stays where you put it. So here I am sewing up those skirt parts that'll allow me to have the body hugging top while the skirt is somewhat loose for ease of movement. Though the skirt does end up having a vent at the back, which allows me even more ease of movement. It's kind of a wiggle style. You have to kind of wiggle into the skirt to get it to fit, but it's cute. So here I am matching front side to front side. As you can see, this is the opposite side. So I will be pinning this, and then once it is pinned, I will sew up the back all the way, though at a certain point I will switch to a basting stitch, and this will allow me to get a even placement for the zipper later on. No, I don't sew up that part right now. I just stopped stitching at a certain point, but later on, basted up the back, press it open, and then put in a zipper. On this one, I don't do a lap zipper. On the next video, I will be doing a lap zipper, but on this one, I just do an invisible zipper, which allows me to have the lining. I just whip stitch that down to the zipper itself instead of having to finish that part of the seam. I know, a little lazy of me, but one less seam to finish. Just in case it was lining. It works. But yes, this is me just sewing up the front of the skirt. I will then also sew up the back of the skirt, dealing with the vent as I go. I don't think I recorded that part simply because it was kind of a pain in the patootie to do. It was a little finicky, and I think I just at one point stopped filming so I could just straight on deal with it without having to worry about camera angles. And if you could see what I was doing, because sometimes I forget the camera's there and I just focus on the sewing. So here again, I'm sewing up that seam. Using this standard Big 4 seam allowance, which is 5/8 of an inch. I do like having that seam allowance though, simply because that allows me to have a little bit more ease in case I need to let out that seam. I am using the pinking method for finishing my seams, but I usually try on the garment before I officially start pinking all the seam allowances. And this method allows me to take out certain parts if I need to. And with that 5/8 of an inch, even if I just letted out 1/8 of an inch on all the seams, that would give me 1/4 of an inch. And sometimes that's all I need when I'm fitting the garments for me. Sometimes I forget to do that. So here I am matching the oh, this is where I started working on the back of the dress, the back skirt. And as you can see, I'm just matching up the notches, matching up the vent, and just trying to keep everything matched well. I do love this bowl. It's got a magnet in the bottom, which allows me to kind of just throw my pins in, but pins are scattering less. I used to keep the pins in the case they came in, and that was always kind of a difficulty for me because I was trying to wrangle the pins out of the plastic case, and this is quite a bit easier. It is quite a bit of a strong magnet, so I will, when I'm done with the project, just put my scissors by it and all the other metal tools near it, and they will all kind of stay in the same spot. But yes, I'm trying to be really careful with this marking of where everything goes. I'm double pinning where I need to stop and pivot. I am just trying to pin really well so that it's easy for me to know where I need to sew. And yes, I do sew over my pins. Yes, I know it's not great. These are metal, they are recyclable, and if I bend them, I bend them. I don't want my piece fluffing around while I'm trying to sew. Okay, so as you can see, the seam is pinked, so I am now getting ready to sew up the side seams on the skirt. matching the notches, pinning everything where I can, and I'm just trying to match everything up as well as I can. Sometimes when you're cutting, you make mistakes and things fluff and move where you don't want them to. Having a good pair of dress shears when you're getting ready to sew is helpful. Not just scissors, but dress shears, because the shears themselves won't move the fabric as much as just a regular pair of scissors do. Scissors, though, are very handy to have every once in a while. But you want to have a good, sharp pair before you start, and it'll make cutting out everything much easier. Or you can be very adventurous and use a rotary cutter, which is what I've been trying to do recently, so I just don't have to move the fabric at all. That works really well if you've got a slippery fabric that wants to move anyway. So I'm matching notches, I'm matching up the top and the bottom, and because this is curved to go over hips, and because it's meant to be a more fitted piece, I am trying to be super careful about how I'm doing this, and that everything matches up and isn't just a guess. Here I am just sewing up that side seam. As you can tell, I'm moving a little bit slower than I usually do when I'm sewing up seams, simply because this one is curved. So I have to pay attention to where the needle is landing as opposed to where I am, where the fabric is going onto the machine, so that I get that 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Using one hand to guide the fabric and the other to hold it up so it's not as stressed, so I get even seamage. And then I'll just pull out the pin and check this spacing. So here I am creating the belt loop. And how I do that is a long piece of fabric that is folded in half, and then the edges are folded in again, and then I sew up both sides. I will then mark out how long I need the carrier to be, or the loop, which is 2 and I think it was 1/4 inch with 1 3/4 of an inch. This allows me to put in the carrier. I will then, once it's attached here, I am sewing the bodice to the skirt. Again, 5/8 of an inch with the gathering now pulled taut to fit. I thought I had good footage of me actually gathering it up, but I didn't, so I don't. It's basically what it comes down to. Again, I will be matching notches, and I will be matching ends. I will be also matching seams on the side seams so that it will create a continuous line and not look somewhat awkward when you get it almost across there or wiggle through a piece and it ends up being like half an inch away. And I have done that on pieces and it looks weird, and then you don't want to wear the piece you just put all that effort into making. But here's the bodice attached. At this point, I don't think I've whip stitched. Nope, yes I have. I have whip stitched on the inside, so you can't see the lining. But yes, I'm just using an invisible zipper. Oh, nope, I'm using a regular zipper, but I just put it in like an invisible zipper. I think it works. I think it works. So here I am getting ready to set in the seam, and in the instructions it said to deal with the flower over. And how I set in seams is I measure how deep I need the hem to be with a clear ruler, and then I will just fold it over that much and then iron the seam before I pin it, and that allows me to get a good edge on the actual hem. I will then go through and whip stitch. So this is the final product. Like I said, I like how this turned out. This is with my fabric belt that I made in the black crayon that I will show you when I do my suit. I had a little bit left over, so I made myself a zipper belt to go with it. Yes, I like the way it turned out. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day.